Okay, so in this video we are going to create a vector with elements from 1 to 25, that's the num elements, and we are going to create an array, a single dimension and a two-dimension array. The array is also going to have elements from 1 to 25, but in a random order. Okay, so how to create basically an array of integers from 1 to certain value, or even 0 to certain value, it is up to you to decide that, such that the elements are in random order. Okay, so for that what we do is we first populate this vector with elements from in this example 1 to 25. So I run a for loop with index 0, index less than num elements. So num elements is 25, so this loop is going to run 25 times, and I add to this vector integers of value index plus 1. So the first integer to get added is 0 plus 1, which is 1. The second integer to be added is 1 plus 1, 2. The third one will be 2 plus 1, 3, and so on. So I print the contents to vector. Now you could use this clone method on this vector and make a copy of that vector. So again, the clone method returns an object, and you have to typecast it to a vector, and I save it as another vector by name copy sample vec. So I'm going to basically now create this array that has integers randomly chosen from this copy sample vec, and I'm going to fill this array with values from copy sample or extracted from copy sample work. So I'm going to delete the integers as I remove from copy sample vec. Okay, so that's why I made a copy of it. So I create a random number generator. Then I want to now populate this array. So I know that I need 25 elements, the num elements, which are there in copy sample vec. So in each iteration I do this. So this copy sample vec initially has 25 elements, right? So I want to decide which element among these 25 elements I want to extract. So I generate this random integer, which is basically a random index. So the next int method basically returns a random value from 0 to 1 less than whatever we specify here. So here I specify the current size of this copy sample vec, which is 25 to start with. So it is going to generate a random number from 0 to 1 less than 25, which is 24, which will cover all the indices in the vector. So let us say the random number that gets generated is 10, but that is basically the rand index. So I'm going to remove the element at index 10. Okay. So before removing, I just get that value of that integer at index 10. So this is the get method. So the get method on the vector is going to get the element at index, the rand index, and typecast it to an integer wrapper class and use the int value method to get the integer value, and I store that as the first element at index 0 in the array, and then I basically go ahead and remove that element at that rand index. So the size of copy sample vec because of this reduces from 25 to 24 now. Now I repeat the process. I now generate a rand index from 0 to 1 less than 24, which is 23. So let us say the rand index that gets generated is 7. So I basically get now the element at index 7. Remember, the vector elements would have rearranged by now since we removed the 10th element at index 10 in the previous iteration. The elements will automatically rearrange by themselves. And so I call this get method with the new rand index that gets generated, and I get the value at that position at that index, and I set array index 1 now to that value, and I remove again the element at that particular rand index from copy sample vec. So I keep doing this. Eventually copy sample vec is going to get empty and all the 25 elements will now be in this array in a random order. Okay, so I can just print the contents of the array. Now this is the second part of the code basically tells you how to now again populate those 25 elements in a two-dimensional array. So this 25 was purposefully chosen because it's a perfect square, so 5 squared is 25. So I'm going to have a two-dimensional array with 5 rows and 5 columns. So I can fill it up with values from 1 to 25 in a random order. So I take the square root of this num elements, in this case 25, so square root is going to be 5.0. I'm going to just truncate the integer part, remove the fraction part and just get the integer part. So I do this. So num rows is 5 and num columns is also same as num rows because this is a square array. So I'm going to just declare this two-dimensional array of integers. This is how you declare it. Num rows and num calls. Now remember the sample vec that we originally created to have elements from 1 to 25 is still there, so we can make a clone of it and again store it as copy sample vec because we already declared copy sample vec as a vector in this code. We should not declare it again. Now I run a nested for loop. So I fill this two-dimensional array row wise. So the outer loop runs for the row index from 0 to 1 less than the number of rows, so you have num rows, and then the inner loop runs for the column index. So in the first row I'm going to fill the elements the column from 0 to 1 less than num calls, and to fill them up I'm going to again use the same logic we just used for the linear one-dimension array. First generate a rand index and the range from 0 to 1 less than the size of the copy sample vec. So get the value in that index, the rand index, and just use two-dimensional array of row index and column index equals that value. So you're filling for a particular row, in this case row index 0, all the column values, and then you can call the remove method with the rand index and remove the value from the copy sample vec. So basically you are filling row wise, so you'll fill the first row index 0 with the random values, and then of course you keep doing it, then you continue with row index 1, row index 2 and so on. Eventually the two-dimensional array will be filled with values extracted from copy sample vec, and the copy sample vec will become empty eventually. So now you can print the contents of the two-dimensional array. So again we're going to print it row wise, so the outer loop is for the row index and then the inner loop is for the column index, and it prints the contents row wise and then within a row the different column values. Okay, so let me run it. So this is called random elements. Let me clear this. So java c random elements dot java. Don't worry about the warning messages that you get. So I'm not printing the original sample vec. This is just the actually I'm printing the original sample vec. So you see here the values from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 25 sequentially. Of course I copied it to copy sample vec, extracted the elements from it randomly from random index values, and because of that the one-dimensional array, single-dimensional array has random values in this order, and then the two-dimensional array has values row wise in this order. Again, of course, if I run it again, of course this is a sample vec from 1 to 25, but we are extracting at random from random index entries from this vector. So you have a different one-dimension array and a different two-dimension array of the same sample vec from 1 to 25. So this is how you could use in your quiz and projects when you do them. Okay, we'll stop here.